All right, let's talk about money. Your money. Managing it can feel like a full-time job that nobody ever taught you how to do. But what if you had a Copilot for your finances? Something that's always on, always learning, and totally focused on making you wealthier. Well, that's not science fiction anymore. That's the promise of artificial intelligence, and it's already shaking up how we save, invest, and plan for the future.
So here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll get a handle on this huge AI money revolution. Then, we'll look at the cold, hard data. Does putting your finances on autopilot actually work? After that, we'll explore some next-level AI investing strategies. But, and this is important, we're also going to face the real risks of robo-finance. And finally, we'll put it all together to see what the future of your wallet could look like.
Okay, let's start with a feeling I think we all know. You're trying to juggle your budget, hit your savings goals, figure out investments. It gets complicated fast. It can be super stressful. And man, it can eat up a lot of your time.
Sound familiar? Yeah, you are definitely not alone. The sheer complexity of modern finance is a huge headache for millions of people. But it's that exact challenge, that feeling of being overwhelmed, that has opened the door for a massive technological game changer.
Just imagine having an assistant that sees where your money is going, finds savings you never even knew existed, and gives you personalized investment tips, all without the crazy high fees of a traditional advisor. That's what AI is bringing to the table. It's all about putting powerful financial tools, the kind that used to be just for the super rich, right into everybody's pocket.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds amazing, but is it just a bunch of marketing hype? Does it really work? Well, researchers have actually put these AI tools to the test against the old-school methods. And honestly, the evidence is pretty powerful.
And the results are pretty staggering. One major 6-month study found that people using AI-based finance tools boosted their average monthly savings by a whopping 25%. Compare that to the 10% increase for people doing it the traditional way. That's not just a little bump, that's a huge jump.
And what about our most valuable asset, our time? Well, the AI users cut down the time they spent managing their money to just 15 minutes a week. 15 minutes! Meanwhile, people doing it manually were spending about 40 minutes. That's a massive amount of time you get back every single month.
And you can really see the difference on this chart. That blue line, that's the AI tools. It's just consistently outperforming the orange line for traditional methods. I mean, just look at that gap when it comes to hitting financial goals, and especially that big edge in investment returns.
So the bottom line here is crystal clear. When you put them head-to-head, 78% of AI users hit their financial goals. That's compared to just 55% for the traditional folks. They saw more than double the returns on their investments, and they were just a lot happier using the tools. The data's pretty clear. These things are just more effective.
But AI's potential here goes way beyond just helping you budget better. The really exciting part, the next level, is about making that shift from just managing money to actively creating wealth. We're talking about building passive income streams, the kind of thing that's at the heart of financial independence.
And this is where people are getting super creative, especially in communities like the FIRE movement. Financial independence, retire early. They're using AI to build these little automated engines that make money while they sleep. Things like creating digital products, setting up automated marketing, and even selling art and music made by AI.
But, okay, before we get too carried away planning our early retirements, here's a much-needed reality check from a user on Reddit. And it really hits the nail on the head. AI learns from the past. It can slice and dice historical data like nothing else, but it can't predict the future. It's an incredibly powerful tool, for sure, but it is not a crystal ball.
And that brings us perfectly to the other side of this coin. The promise of AI in finance is absolutely massive, but so are the potential dangers. And if we're going to use these tools smartly, we have to get real about the risks and some of the big ethical questions involved.
Yeah, all this new power raises some really tough questions that experts are wrestling with right now. Like, if an AI learns from old, biased financial data, could it accidentally start discriminating when it comes to things like loan applications? And what about transparency? How do you even know why an AI recommended something? Then, if it messes up, who's to blame? You, the company that made it? And of course, for any of this to work, these systems need our most sensitive financial data, which is a huge privacy concern.
This whole transparency problem has a name in the industry: black box algos. Basically, your data goes in one end, a decision comes out the other, but what happens in the middle is a complete mystery. You don't know the logic, you can't repeat it, and you can see why that makes regulators really, really nervous.
And that nervousness is leading to action. Regulators all over the world are trying to catch up. Take India's market regulator, SEBI, for instance. They've been updating their rules for years to deal with the rise of algorithmic trading for everyday investors, creating new safeguards to make sure consumers are protected.
So with all these risks, how can you actually use these tools safely? Well, experts recommend a pretty simple, common sense approach. First, do your homework on any tool you're thinking about using. Second, be super clear about what you're trying to achieve. Third, and this is crucial, use AI to help, not replace, a human expert for the big stuff. And finally, always remember its limitations.
So where does all this leave us? When you stack up the incredible potential against the very real risks, a pretty clear picture of the future starts to take shape. And it's not some kind of battle between humans and machines, it looks a lot more like a partnership.
The general feeling is that AI is here to augment our intelligence, not replace it. The sweet spot is this hybrid model, human-led but AI-driven. This way, we can make high-level financial advice available to everyone, not just the wealthy, while still keeping a human in the driver's seat for that critical final judgment.
And this future isn't decades away. It's already here. The market is full of these tools. You've got robo-advisors like Wealthfront and Betterment, awesome budgeting apps like YNAB and Copilot, and even huge all-in-one platforms. The tools are here now, and they're getting smarter all the time.
And that brings it all back to one final, really important question. The technology exists. It is fundamentally changing our relationship with money, and the power to use it is right there in your hands. So, how are you going to choose to pilot your financial future?